Hello, thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. I am Dr. David Pendergrass. I received an email the other day from a man from Colorado, and he was desperate. He was in a sticky situation where his wife is grown paranoid. She feels like God has betrayed her and them, and that he has betrayed her. And that means that she thought that he was having an affair, and she accused him of that a bunch. They had talked about it a little bit here and there, and he had said, of course not, no, I'm not. But he said several times that, no, I'm not, this is not what's going on. He apparently spoke with a woman who's a psychologist, and apparently respected, I guess, in a certain field, and she listened for quite some time. He told her the entire saga, and one of the answers she gave was that he needs to go talk to a woman psychologist to understand what it's like to be a woman and maybe get a woman's perspective. I said some other things to this man. I'm laughing because I can't believe she said that to him. Truth, listen, truth is truth. It's just truth. Whether you have a vagina or not, it's just truth or it's false. I mean, this is ridiculous. Your chromosome doesn't determine what truth is. And if your spouse or your wife or husband is accusing you of cheating on you and they don't have evidence for it, they're wrong. They're mistaken. I don't need to go talk to a woman to discover what it feels like for a woman to feel betrayed when I'm not betraying her. I mean, this is nonsense. So what I encouraged him to do was, I said, in other words, that I don't see it the same way as this other woman does. I don't know what being a woman has anything to do with it because you're innocent, right? And I actually spoke to the guy too, and he said, yes. And I said, well, if that's the case, you need to make sure it's very clear with your spouse. So have you spoken with her? And he said, no, not really. And we just kind of let it fly. And she's really upset. Well, and I said, well, how do you feel? And he said, well, it's kind of like being cut by a knife 1,000 times. You kind of get used to it. I said, well, you're not used to it yet. You have some feelings, right? Because you reached out to me and you reached out to that other woman counselor. And he said, that's true. I said, well, if I were you, I would say something along these lines. Woman? No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. I'd say, whatever, sugar pie sweetie. No, really, whatever his wife's name is. Look, you're accusing me of something horrible. This is a heinous sin. Adultery is a really, really big deal. I do not take it lightly. I take your charge very seriously. Now listen, I have no problem being held accountable. I want to have a healthy marriage, and healthy marriages have accountability. They do have accountability. I'm all about accountability. You can search my phone, my tweets, my Facebook page if you have one. You can hook me up to a polygraph if it gets that bad, but for a short period, because when there's no evidence, which is what you've found so far, then this is destroying our relationship. So I need you to give me evidence right now, or you need to drop it, because you and your choices to keep bringing up a false accusation is really hurting our relationship. You are causing me to be very distant because it hurts my feelings. It makes me very angry, and I do not deserve it. If the role reversed, and every day or every other day or whatever the frequency she's doing it, I accuse you of sleeping around with a boyfriend, and I had no evidence for it, but was just so convinced of it, I guarantee you also would have your feelings hurt, and you'd be angry, and you'd be frustrated, and it would create a wedge between us. You need to stop. Now, maybe your spouse does have a little questions, like you were gone one night to a party or something, and there was an old girlfriend that was there and whatever. Fine. But you always offer to your spouse, I will go to a counselor. I'll go to a therapist with you. Tomorrow, let's go. Let's go, because I have nothing to hide. So what you're trying to, and that's it. So my point is, what you're trying to demonstrate are a few things to your spouse. You say whatever vocabulary you want, but here's the things that I encourage you to make sure your spouse hears very well. 1, you are open-minded to accountability. You are open to that. You have no problem. You're not showing denial or rejection of any kind of accountability. In fact, you're saying, hey, I'm all for it. Do whatever it takes to show that. 2, do whatever it takes to demonstrate that how you feel about this person's accusations. I feel this. It's causing this. You need to talk about how you feel. 3, you need to talk about possible solutions, like going to a counselor, hooking up a polygraph machine, whatever. But 4th, you need to make sure she understands that it has to stop. Or if it's a he, your spouse, you have to make sure they understand it must stop. It must stop because it's hurting the relationship. It's damaging the relationship. This man needed to hear this. He was so glad to hear it. And he said, thank you so much. I've been wondering if I should say more. And I said, yes, you should say more. Stand up for yourself. This isn't right. And it's not going to go away. You don't have to take it. Sometimes people have legitimate concerns for affairs. They do. And you need to address those issues. Sometimes spouses just get paranoid. And this is especially common when in the past you were unfaithful. Or in the past you almost were. Or in the past relationship, your spouse, in a past relationship your spouse was in, he or she suffered from being betrayed. So this happens a lot when you have second, third, fourth relationships or marriages, and their first or second husband or wife, whatever, cheated on them, and they bring that into this marriage. You need to address those issues. But here's the deal. You cannot make a person trust you. You can't do it. You just can't make them trust you. And so that's a common question I get is, how do I make them? How do I make them heal? How do I make them trust you? You can't. You can't make a person feel anything, technically speaking. I mean, yeah, you can make them scared if you jump in and so forth, but you can't make a person hang on to not trusting you. So what you can do is be trustworthy and demand the person have evidence if they think they can't trust you. That's all you can do. Well, David, what if they never get over it? What if they never trust me? Well, again, hopefully you've dragged them to a counselor by then, and hopefully you found a competent counselor who can understand truth and not worry about whether or not you're a man or a woman, and then help your spouse who is telling you that you're cheating on them, the one who's paranoid. Hopefully they'll hear a third-party perspective and maybe an objective perspective and say, okay, wait a second, maybe I'm being crazy. If that's the case, ideally, hopefully, and I've seen this happen before. I know couples right now where it's happening right now, where the spouse is very paranoid because of a man who used to do other things, and he stopped a long time ago, and he's real legit now, and it's hard for her to let it go. And I encouraged her, if he demonstrates, I've said all the stuff I'm saying now on the podcast, but I also told them, if at the end of all, I told her, at the end of all this, a few months' time, he's always proven himself to be perfectly trustworthy. He's always where he says he's going to be. His texts are always clean. His emails are always clean, whatever. Then you've got to start work on trusting him. And if you cannot, that's your problem, not his. And it's up to you to work on the proper coping skills and processing skills to get to the place where you're able to trust again. And that is very difficult. The very thing that we do not want to do when we're hurt is be hurt again. And it's hard. It's easy to get hard-hearted because it freaking hurts when you've been betrayed. It hurts. So, that's what I tell people. After all these steps to the person who's paranoid, the bottom line is, if a person's demonstrated themselves to be trustworthy, you've got to work on yourself to get to the place where you can trust again. So, if someone is accusing you of something you didn't do, go through all the steps, demonstrate how it makes you feel, tell them that you're open to be accountable and so forth. But let them know the effect it's having on the relationship, and don't sit back passive and expect it to get better. Be proactive. Notice I didn't say, go beat up your spouse. I didn't say cuss him out. I didn't say get physically abusive. I didn't say try to embarrass them and shame them from everybody. I didn't say take them from your in-laws or their parents and say, she's crazy and she's always... Don't be a child. Don't be a child and don't be evil. I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast, I hope you're a Christian because it's true. If you are a Christian, remember, be like Jesus. So stand up for truth, but do it gently. But stand up for truth. And the truth is, if you're innocent, you're innocent. And you do not have to take it when you're being accused of something you didn't do. You do not have to sit back quietly. Oh, shucks. I didn't do it for some reason. She's just paranoid. No, you don't. So stop. Stand up. This can change and go away. And the odds are very high. And your spouse who's accusing you, there's some kind of pain, some kind of wound that's going on. And you can be there for him or her through this season in their life. Don't give up. See you next time. Thank you so much for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. If you want to listen to more, go to my website, davidpendergrass.com, and look at one of the tabs that says podcast. If you click that, it'll take you straight to my podcast on iTunes, or you can search for it on iTunes if you want to, A Glimpse of the Kingdom. But also on my website, you'll see another way to get, if you're an Android listener on your phone or you just don't use Mac computers. Again, davidpendergrass.com, and click podcast. It'll take you exactly where you need to go, and you can subscribe from there and get this as often as you like, and also see my blogs and so forth. If you want to get me to come to your organization or church, otherwise to do some consulting, you need to go to davidpendergrassconsulting.com. davidpendergrassconsulting.com. You'll see the information there. If you want to reach out to me on Twitter, you can find me at Dr. D. Pendergrass, at Dr. D. Pendergrass.